Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sofia University's Master of Arts in Transpersonal Psychology information session. My name is Elizabeth Gill, and I'm an admissions counselor at Sofia. I am joined here today with my colleagues and the chair of the MATP program, who I will introduce in just a moment. So we're going to start our information session with the introduction of our chair, who will then give their PowerPoint presentation. We can answer any questions at the end of the PowerPoint, but please feel free to ask any questions in the chat during the presentation. So now let's begin our introduction. I am pleased to introduce our program chair, Dr. Robert Wood. Dr. Wood oversees our bachelor completion, as well as our MA and PhD programs in transpersonal psychology. He has earned several degrees, including an MA in transpersonal psychology from Nairobi University and a PhD with a concentration in transpersonal psychology from ITP, which is now known as Sofia University. Dr. Wood resides in Utah and has previously taught finance at both the University of Utah and the University of Oregon. After a life-changing event, he pursued a spiritual path that led him to study shamanism and transpersonal psychology. I will now turn it over to Robert.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and welcome to you all. We're very glad to have you with us. And as Elizabeth said, I'll run through this PowerPoint, and if you have questions, if you just put them into the chat, that'll be great, and we can deal with all the questions at the end. So transpersonal education is not only a different subject than you may be used to, we take a different approach to education, and we try to provide an experience that'll be transformative. So you learn about the transpersonal by actually going through a transformative education. So it's a different kind of education than you'll experience anywhere else. The characteristics and qualities of this education are it's collaborative, dynamic, creative, very transformative. We talk about embodied. You'll learn that your body has wisdom as well as your mind. There's lots of freedom and choice. We want you to find your own path, your own authenticity, and self-discovery. There's personal enrichment, professional development, and connection to Earth, and which is one of my favorite topics, along with psycho-spiritual transformation. So these are some of the qualities of our education and some of what you can experience when you're here. In your classroom, your teacher will help you, will facilitate your transpersonal learning. They're not there mostly to like preach to you and tell you, here's how it is, or here's what it is. They're there to facilitate your own learning. And people will have different interests and want to learn in different ways and about different things. They'll ask you to reflect deeply. You're going to do lots of reflection and integrating and expressing what the integration that you've experienced. They help you to explore your personal authenticity, facilitate meaningful learning through multiple ways of knowing. We even have a course that's called Ways of Knowing. And you can know by learning with your brain, but you can also know by feeling and tapping into the wisdom within your own body. Will foster enhancement, awareness of consciousness, and help you to cultivate processes and practices that will nourish your inner life. Some of the faculty are pictured here, and we have people of all ages. Some of us have been around for a while, and we have a couple of teachers who are pretty young, pretty recent graduates themselves. And all of these people are are here out of a sense of dedication to the idea of transpersonal psychology and to the people that it attracts. One of these teachers will be assigned to be your academic advisor. And academic advisors have different roles than instructors. Instructors teach the courses, support your processes in the courses, facilitate weekly assignments, and are a touchstone for you as you have questions about a course. An academic advisor will help you understand what your academic requirements are, help you understand institutional policies and procedures, and you meet quarterly with the academic advisor, and they'll help you decide which courses you should take. And they're the person you can always contact with any question. Not necessarily a question about the class, because that would go to the instructor, but any question about what's going on with you in the program. We've kind of, we divide the courses basically it's a 2-year program if you take 2 courses per term. So, and there's 4 terms per year, and the program can be done in 7 terms. So a little bit less than 2 years if you take 2 courses per term. And we kind of divide all of those courses into 2 groups. There's the foundational courses, which are an opening seminar. We do a little bit on APA writing style. And then there's an embodied spirituality course, an intro to transpersonal studies, theories of personality, creative expression and transformation, spiritual development across the lifespan. And then at the end of those courses, you will attend another seminar, a transitional seminar. And in this second seminar, you'll kind of decide what do you want to what do you want to do, what do you want to concentrate in, what do you want your concentration to be. And we have several concentrations, and you just need to ask yourself, which of these concentrations is going to fit best within your own personal goals and give you what you really want to get out of your education. So there are lots of unique paths that someone can take, depending on, kind of your concentrations. We've just listed some students here, all of whom I remember no, and they've done just amazing work with what they've learned at Sofia University. And I'll just let you look at those for a minute. And we have another student I'm going to introduce to you later on, in addition to these, who has taken a pretty unique path with the education that she received at Sofia. So let's start talking about what these concentrations are. There are 3 main concentrations. One is creativity and innovation. The other is spiritual psychology. And the third is leadership and transformative life coaching. You can also do a dual concentration and take any 2 of these in combination. With a dual concentration, you have to attend a few more classes, not as many as you'd have to attend if you did both concentrations from the beginning, because there is some overlap, but it would take about a quarter or 2 more to do a dual concentration. We also have sub-concentrations or minors in transpersonal eco-psychology and another in dream studies. And these can be accomplished just by carefully selecting which electives you pick in your main concentrations. So let's talk a little bit about these concentrations now. The creativity and innovation concentration, the courses that you would take in your second year would be empowering community through creative arts, and then you take an inquiry into creativity and innovation. And this is an inquiry is really a research technique that you will learn, intuitive inquiry. You'll take a class in ways of knowing that I mentioned briefly a few minutes ago, and then you'll take a professional practicum. In all of our concentrations, we do have this practicum element. And practicum one, there's practicum 1 and 2. And in 1, you decide what you're going to do for your practicum, and in 2, you do it. And then there are 3 electives that are required to fulfill the creativity and innovation, but they can be any electives. They don't have to be just creativity and innovation. And this is where I was telling you, if you carefully select your electives, you could select them all from the eco-psychology courses, for example, and you'd be very near to having that second sub-concentration. And then you have you capstone the whole experience with the transpersonal integration paper. It's kind of like a master's thesis, but it's not so much about research, although there is a research component, but it's not so much about research as it is about you integrating all of your experience that you've had during the master's in transpersonal psychology and what the personal integration has been for you. And then, of course, there's graduation, to celebrate all of that accomplishment. So another concentration is spiritual psychology, and with this one, you would take contemplative practices in heart, mind, and community. There's an inquiry into embodied spirituality, ways of knowing, and so you can see there's substantial overlap between creativity and innovation and spiritual psychology. These 2 courses, Inquiry into Embodied Spirituality and Ways of Knowing, are basically the same course for both concentrations. And that's why if you do a dual concentration, there is that overlap. There's a professional practicum 1 and 2. Again, it would be more focused on spiritual psychology than creativity in this case. Also, 3 electives are required for this concentration, and you have the capstone of the transpersonal integration paper. Now, the concentration in life coaching, leadership and transformative life coaching, is a bit more structured than the other 2 concentrations because it really is a skill learning concentration. And here you have introduction to transformative coaching, inquiry into embodied spirituality, or inquiry into creativity and innovation. Same class we talked about with those other 2. The practicum in coaching is very specific. It's not something that you necessarily plan. It's actual coaching work that you do. And then there's an advanced practicum in addition to the 1 and 2 practicum in coaching. There's an advanced practicum. There's a course in entrepreneurial spirit, which kind of helps you set up a business in coaching and understand the business aspects of that. And then with all of these courses, there's only room for 1 elective in the coaching instead of the 3 as in the others. You still will do the capstone of the transpersonal integration paper if you do a concentration in life coaching. Some of your elective choices, just to whet your palate a little bit. The entrepreneurial spirit class, you don't need to be in coaching to take it. You could take it as an elective in one of the others. And it is about how to create a business or the business aspects of what you're learning in transpersonal education. Archetypes, myths, and symbols. It's a class that I teach. So it's obviously the best class. No, not really. I love teaching it. There's creative and conscious aging, psychosynthesis, spirituality, creativity, and transformation in the second half of life, mind-body healing practices, eco-spirituality, nature-based programs and wholeness, sustainability, culture, and sacred ecology, eco-psychology, which is another class that I teach, transpersonal approaches to dreams and dreaming, and the psychology of extraordinary dreams. And we have new electives that are added from time to time, and they're kind of taught on a rotation. So on these two sub-concentrations, there's transpersonal eco-psychology and there's dream studies. To qualify for this sub-concentration, there are 4 classes that you have to take. So 3 of them could be your electives, right, in one of your other concentrations, and you'd have just 1 other class left to take. And these are the 4 classes for the eco-psychology sub-concentration. It's eco-spirituality, eco-psychology, nature-based programs and wholeness, and sustainability, culture, and sacred ecology. For the dream studies sub-concentration, there's anomalous states of consciousness, psychology of extraordinary dreams, transpersonal approaches to dream and dreaming, and archetype symbols and myths. So now I wanted to show you this. This is one of my first students when I started teaching at Transpersonal Psych at Sofia. It was then called the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology. And Lisa was my student, and she has gone out into the world with her training in transpersonal psychology. And let's watch this event. So that gives you an example of someone who is, I think she's done great work with the concept of transpersonal psychology that she learned in our presence. So um, so that's pretty much it for the presentation. I'd be very happy uh, to answer any questions now that we've got. And here, Elizabeth, I'll stop the sharing and we'll go from there. If I can figure out how to stop the sharing. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Robert. I know that was a lot of information, so I'll give everyone a moment to process. But please feel free to ask any questions in the chat now, or if you prefer, you can unmute yourself and speak. I'll give it a second. But if not, I do have some questions in the meantime to kind of get it started. I am curious, do you need a bachelor's degree or a background in psychology to join this program?
Yeah, you do need a bachelor's degree in something. So so it's a graduate program, but your degree does not need to be in psychology. And we do offer a course, a non-credit course, which is an intro to psychology if you think you need it. But I had no background at all in psychology when I started in transpersonal psychology.
Okay, that's good to know. But yeah, we definitely, we do have students from a variety of different backgrounds. So, you're welcome to apply. Like Robert said, you just need a bachelor's degree. I'm curious your take. What is the balance between experiential and academic learning in the program?
I think it's pretty close to 50-50.
Okay.
And we try to pair up the courses. If you take 2 courses per term, which is kind of, I was going to say the preferred way, but there's no really preferred way. We're very flexible. You can take 3 courses or you can take 1 per term if you want. We usually recommend you start off with 2 and kind of feel how you can handle it. But we try to do kind of an academic course. Like an academic course would be the Intro to Transpersonal Psychology. And that would be paired with an experiential course, which would be embodied spirituality, for example. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. Does anybody have any questions? Let me check the chat. Let's see. I had a question because you talked about the concentrations a bit, and you talked about, you are able to have a dual concentration. Are there any advantages or disadvantages to that? I know the spiritual psychology and creativity and innovation, there might be some overlap. Would you recommend it to students?
Yeah. I mean, the disadvantage is it will cost you slightly more money, to get through the program. It'll take you
Yeah.
a while longer. I mean, your degree will say Master's in Transpersonal Psychology with concentration in, and it would list 2 things, So it's easiest or makes the most sense to do the creativity and innovation and spiritual psychology because they do overlap. And it can take in just a quarter or 2 more, you can have the 2 concentrations. It's difficult, but people have done it to take coaching and another. But it would take you, 2 or 3 more terms if you did coaching and another one.
How long would it take you if you did the spiritual psychology paired with the creativity and innovation?
I think you could do it in 2 extra terms.
Okay.
Pretty easily. Yeah.
Okay. Looks like we have a question that came in. Are there opportunities for application of learning in the community as part of the curriculum? Maybe related to the practicum?
Yeah, when we get to the practicum, that's all I was thinking. We really don't have kind of work study sort of opportunities. You excuse me, you can't go and say, well, I've got this experience working at this hospital. Can I get credit for that? We don't do that, but we do encourage you in your practicum to find a place in the community where you can participate and help. And in the practicum, there's 3 credit hours worth of credit that you can get from doing that work.
I did have a follow-up question to that. Do faculty help place the students for practicum, or is it their responsibility?
It's the student's responsibility. So the faculty will help sometimes, like right now, I'm supervising a practicum, but typically the student will even find their own supervisor and just suggest that. That's why the practicum is divided in 2 parts. Practicum 1 is you get it all set. You get your supervisor and what you're going to do all lined up. And then in the second part, you actually do it.
It looks like we have another question that came in. That's a good question. So in the psychology department, there's a master's in counseling psychology. And yeah, this is the MA in transpersonal psychology one. So is it correct that the transpersonal one doesn't lead to licensure, the one we're in now? And can you speak to the different goals for students in the 2 programs? So yeah, the differences between MA and MACP and MATP.
Yeah, the counseling program it's a longer program. It's more involved. And there's a lot of time spent actually learning counseling. You do counseling, and then you're a guinea pig for a counselor, and you trade off back and forth. It's an excellent program, but it's very intense, and the goal is to be a licensed counselor. In our program, there's no licensure. You can get a certificate as a certified art therapist if you do creativity and innovation. You can get certified as a life coach from the International Coaching Federation if you do the coaching. But those are really not licensures. It's a different focus.
Yeah, so yeah, what Robert was saying, it is a non-clinical program. It won't lead to licensure. A lot of students actually use it as a stepping stone towards the PhD program because it's a bit more research or theoretical in nature. I do have a question. So if somebody pursues life coaching, what are the career prospects with a life coaching certification?
Yeah, the life coaching is probably the one with the clearest prospects, and that is, you will get, you'll have all the educational components that you'll need to be licensed or certified by the International Coaching Federation, and that's like a plaque you can hang up on the wall that says, "I am a certified life coach." And you can open a business and start helping people by coaching. And that's that entrepreneurial spirit class I talked about. We try to even coach you, if you will, into how to open a business, how to become gainfully employed as a coach. Coaches are most often entrepreneurs. They're their own boss. They set up their own coaching business and go from there.
Now, because it's a non-clinical program, what are some typical career paths for graduates of the MITP program?
Yeah, it's hard to say typical because they're so varied. I mean, you saw Elisa, how she goes and she does retreats all the time, and I get invited to her retreats, and it's almost every weekend somewhere in the United States she's doing a retreat, and it's for a couple of days, and they do this singing and stuff like that. We have Another student who is now also a teacher for us, Jennifer McGrath is her name, and she started a nonprofit organization, for the benefit of women who migrate to the United States, and they have the cultural clash and how to deal with that. They have lots of students who were trained in yoga before. So they're yoga instructors, but now they can do a little bit more than just, they can do some spiritual counseling and things like that along with the yoga. I would say that's one of the more common ones. We have a couple who are equestrine therapists. They have horses and they take people out on the horses, and that's a very transpersonal interspecies connection, So those are just some ideas, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? If there are no more questions, I think I have one more for myself. So what academic support services are available to MATP students?
Yeah. First of all, we have a writing lab, which is just outstanding, and it keeps getting better. So, and you're encouraged as a student, and if you're a gifted writer, fine. A lot of students kind of struggle with the academic sort of writing, and so you could actually turn your paper into the writing lab, and they'll give you feedback before you have to turn it in your class. So you have that support. You'll find that all of your teachers are very very approachable and are very dedicated to your getting the best possible education you can, particularly in the class that they're teaching. So, I spend lots of time one-on-one with my students and encourage them to reach out to me. And we can communicate easily asynchronously, even if they're on the other side of the world. We're able to stay in contact. And then, as I mentioned, you've got your academic advisor, and they can really help you with dealing with the school and its policies and procedures and getting registered for your next quarter and kind of plotting out your career.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think Corey is typing now. I think somebody's asking a question, but I just want to let all the attendees know, if you do apply, for joining us today, we would waive that $75 application fee. I did add some links in the chat. There's a course catalog. There's some, there's a scholarship page, if you want to take a look at that. Those are available to Sofia students. And then there is Roland, he's part of our marketing team. He has linked some of our social media as well. Gonna wait a moment. Okay. So are there shared classes between MACP, MATP that you could switch if you got started in one and decided you wanted to pursue the other? That's a great question.
What a great question. Yeah, very, very insightful. There are some shared classes, and we often have, I don't know if often, it's not it's not uncommon that a student will want to transfer between the programs, and we can most of the credit hours will transfer. Particularly going from the MATP program to the MACP, almost all of those hours will transfer. Coming back the other way, there's some time spent learning counseling that really doesn't have applicability, so there are just some classes on the MACP side that wouldn't transfer, but they overlap a lot. So it's not a bad plan if you're thinking, if you're not sure, to start with one thinking you may go to the other, I would recommend, and this may sound self-serving, but I would recommend you'd start with the MATP because it's more likely that those classes that you would take would be able to be transferred to the MACP.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Yeah, if you're kind of indecisive, I would maybe start MATP. I would also do a lot of research beforehand as a prospective student, look at YouTube videos into, LPCCs and marriage and family therapists, really see if this is something you want to pursue. And then also look into life coaches because you could get a certification in life coaching with the MATP program. So that is an option for you. So yeah, I would definitely try to do a lot of research and figure out what you want out of life. Okay. Ray's typing. I'll give her just one moment.
Okay. You see those little dots? Yeah.
Yeah. Doot, doot, doot. But I just want to thank everybody for joining tonight as well. Our next intake is for the spring 2025 quarter. So that's starting April 7th. Our the application deadline is April 17th. We'll be closing that. Okay, yes. So Corey says she's changing her career midlife. So just want to make sure I pick something with a more certain outcome. Yes. And yeah, with the MA in counseling psychology, it is more of an A to B. A lot of those students, they want licensure. You kind of pick a track within that program. MATP could be a little ambiguous in that way. But, we have a variety, students from a variety of different backgrounds, so it could be taken many different ways. All right. Well, Robert, do you have anything else or?
I'm really grateful to you, you all for showing up tonight. Thank you. And we'd love to see you in one of our classes in the
Yeah.
springtime, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, and please reach out to admissions@sophia.edu for any assistance you may need. Again, those dates, April 7th is the spring quarter, and then the application deadline is March 17th. So thank you all for attending tonight's information session. I hope you found it informative and enjoyed the opportunity to meet our staff and faculty. Have a wonderful evening.